Overwatch was released in 2016, and over those 4 years, I have practically not one trick, but mained Genji for a significant time. I peaked with my rank, practically one trick him at ranked against Goats with about 4.2k. I coach hundreds of individuals and work with contenders level teams. So this video is gonna be the 5 rules of Genji. Hello beautiful and lovely gamers, as always, my name is Jonal, and of course, if you like this video, you like this type of content, hit that like button, it helps promote the video. Drop down in the comment section if you want to see more stuff like this. All feedback is greatly appreciated. It helps me kind of gauge what people want to see on the channel, want to see our upcoming content, and of course, subscribe to the channel. We are almost so close to 20,000 subscribers. It would be amazing if we could hit that before the end of 2020. That would make my year a little bit better. We are about like 400, 350 away. So subscribing really helps out, would make my 2020 just a little bit better. Now, outside of that, let's really just jump into it. So, the very first rule of Genji is understanding a position where you can have impact. And for Genji, the rule is quite simple. You want to play within a 15-meter dash range, because Swift Strike is the main priority of Genji. When we normally look at how to position ourselves as individuals, we normally always focus on what position do we need to be in to have the most impact. And for Genji, that is his dash range. Genji's dash does 50 damage on hit, it does 30 with a melee, meaning you will consistently, without really any issue, to be able to deal 80 damage flat. Of course, you add a shuriken in front of that if you do like a secondary fire or right click dash and melee, you go up to about 108 damage, since a shuriken does 28. And that's pretty big. Imagine that every time you look at a support player, if you're not within your Swift Strike range, you are looking at somebody that should have double the health of what they originally should have. And even more so, of course, when we dash somebody, we close the gap. Genji's right click or secondary fire, if you play on console, is his bread and butter. It's how he fires the fastest. It's where we eliminate majority of his incredibly slow bullet time, so we are actually up close on them. And it's where we also can use the fact that when we are up close on most ranged targets, not stuff like Winston, right, but a ranged target, we can be very difficult to hit by jumping and moving and being up there, where they are in a negative position or in a bad position where they have to like hit this up close moving target, and we can kind of just use the movement of the hero to perfectly move around that. So position yourself in a position where you can be in 50-meter dash range of as many enemies as possible, and always remember, we are looking for easy kills, right? Genji is not the strongest one we want in the game, and we don't allow time because of his slower damage. Don't always want to take a 2v1 or use a long time on killing an individual. So positioning yourself within 50 meters of as many enemies as possible, and positioning yourself in a way where you can help out your team, and so you're playing around your team, you're not like isolating yourself on a flank. That is how you get a really good carry position, where as soon as somebody gets low, as soon as somebody's out of position, or your team starts focusing somebody, you can immediately dash onto there, burst him with a stable 80 or 108 damage, and then continuously bursting him with right clicks or secondary fires to keep him just low immediately. Now, secondary tip, off angle and high ground usage. You gotta start using that. Like it's one of the biggest thing I see when I private coach people. I work so much with people on improving and really perfecting their positioning, both for their dash usage, but also just how to consistently off angle all the time. And of course, if you wanna rank up, improve, and get better at the game, and you wanna also support the channel financially, you can hire me as a private coach. It's 50 euros for a 2-hour session. Our Discord server, link down in the description, where you can send me a DM and we can set up a one-on-one session where we can work on this together. But normally we want to constantly look at high ground usage and off angles, and this normally goes hand in hand with the very first point, being in dash ranges. Because, and I'll use this first point here on Anubis as like a really good example. If you're playing a Genji player and you're like down here on the low ground and they have, you know, a tank player, you know, over here, and you have your Ryan in front of you again, right? So this is like you guys are kind of pushing in here, right? Let's say that you, for some reason here, maybe you guys rotated on the left side, and then you dropped as the enemy team backed off to the point, right? Now, you don't want to be here, because you are going for this juicy, let's say, an Ana, for example, right? You want to get to this Ana or Senjata, whoever is over here, on the point, kind of like healing as much as possible. That's kind of what you want to go for. So, instead of you positioning yourself here and playing here, where, you know, if they have a Hanzo, for example, or a Junkrat, this is Junkrat, they have a Junkrat, all these nades, all the spam will hit you, this fire strike's coming in, right? The Ana, if she lands a nade, she will hit all of you guys, right? This is a really scuffed position. On top of that, it's very difficult for us to kind of push into that dash range that we were talking about. As if we walk here, right, the Ryan would just kill us, or if there's a Zarya, we're kind of screwed. And everything that happens, like everything that's bad that happens to your main group also happens to you. So, if for example you can get up here, which you can do immediately as a Genji, you can just wall climb it, and then boom, you're up here. This is so much more. You can stay on top of the Rhine or go past the Rhine without them being able to punish you because you're on the high ground. They can't do anything about this. The only thing they can do, unless they have another Genji, is to like send a Junkrat up here. And remember, if they have like Winstons and stuff like that, those are normally not that scary, because what will happen is like a Winston will dive and then you will just drop. And then you can continuously harass him by going up and down, up and down. He's forced to use his leap to get up here. You can go down and go back up and go down and go back up. Getting high ground control against the Genji is really difficult if he does his job correctly, right? The only one that can do another climb is a Hanzo, and then he's climbing up in range where our right clicks are, which just puts him at a disadvantage. Right? And here we're doing the great thing. We can reach their entire backline, right? We can pressure their tanks, and we're off-angling. We're playing off this angle to consistently hit in on their tanks. And this off-angle part also works in other scenarios. Let's say you're playing defensive side, and the enemy team is pushing. Instead of you lining up like this, you want to go off here. One, it's called off-angling. A really good rule to, like, if you're off-angling or not, is to visualize it like this. When the enemy team is pushing, they will look and push and shoot and like attack in this line here, right? Because they will see, you know, they will see your entire, you know, 5 teammates here. So an off angle is like you playing off this angle. That's one way to visualize it. The other way, which I used for a very long time, was visualizing a Rhine, visualizing a shield, and then like trying to see if I could like get like a line in here to shoot around the shield, right? Because we don't want to sit there and do shield break when we can rather pressure their tanks and deal a lot of damage. And because if you're constantly using high grounds, you're constantly surrounded. Let's say, for example, for some weird reason, there's like a fight down in this choke point. You don't fight down in this choke point, right? Like you don't fight down here with the rest of them. You fight top here. You're off angling. You can reach their backline. You can pressure the tanks, right? You can dash absolutely everybody and have a lot of impact while you're still safe. And that's incredibly important to understand, that positioning is a fundamental rule of playing Genji. Constantly use the fact that you can wall climb, you can get up, and you can also just get down immediately. You can go up here, decide you don't want to be there, and just drop immediately. And it doesn't cost you anything, because you can just climb back up again. That is the one thing that's incredibly powerful with a Genji. Constantly use his high grounds to constantly off angle and get in that dash range, as we'll talk on in point number 1. Now, following that, point 3 is using your blade while there's pressure. A lot of people solo blade. Now that can work, especially if you're Nadwood, especially if you know exactly what you're doing, your mechanics are on point. Sometimes we're forced to solo blade, or at least blade very in the middle of a team fight or something, because your team is losing and you need to carry, like you need to blade to kind of make a Hail Mary attempt to win that team fight. But a lot of time, if you're initiating a push, blading alone is really fucking risky. Because what happens is, if you're blading, and this happens a lot of people, like, I have my blade, I have to use it early. So they will use it like right before or as you guys are starting to push in on offense, or as the enemy team is starting to push in offense, the Genji will go in alone and blade without his team being able to follow. And the issue there is that the enemy team will now, as it's early in the team fight, have all their stuns, all their fades, their pushes, their speed boosts, their full health, all shields, everything. They have everything locked down. And because your team is not there, there's nothing stopping them from turning on you. There's nothing stopping them from turning around and just attacking you. If you wait until the team is engaged, for example, until the monkey leaps in, or until the enemy team is pushed up and fighting your own tanks, you will hopefully, one, a lot of abilities have already been drained out For example, in Platinum, I just coached a Platinum player playing in like a high gold game. When his Winston dives in, especially because their support is so poorly positioned, there would be a lot of damage done. The Moira was forced to fade. The Ana was forced to use her nade and back off because she was in a bad position. The Zarya was forced to bubble or automatically bubble their tank. And now, because the Monkey went in, they forced out fade, nade, and bubble. 3 really powerful things to slow down a Blade. And he didn't even have nano. He had to play like with just vanilla, just nothing. And the fact that he waited for his Monkey to went in there, or essentially what he should have done, was to wait until his Monkey went in there. What he did was his Monkey went in, then it went out, did absolutely nothing, and then the fight kind of resetted, and then he played it a little bit after. While the enemy team none of his teammates had pressure, none of his teammates was in there doing anything. The enemy has gotten back all their abilities, and of course they used everything to stall. They faded away, they naded themselves, even in such a low elo, because it makes no sense not to. When the Blade goes in alone and there's nobody else you're fighting, even a bronze player will understand, oh, wait, there's only a Genji that I can shoot, so I will shoot the Genji. The only reason that it works in low elos, or when you don't get punished low, is because they don't notice that the blade goes in, or they don't have the awareness that, oh, he's not on me, so then I don't matter. But in Platinum and Diamond, okay, Platinum maybe, not all the time, but in Diamond and Masters and so on, people really start punishing that. And also in low elos, there are people that focusly punish that consistently, so Blade with pressure. Wait until the fight starts, wait until the team is engaged, or is engaged with the enemy team if you're playing defensive, and then go in with a Blade. Number 4 is dash usage. I see this a lot. A lot of people are using their dash to, because they don't really understand the value of it. Happens a lot during private coaching, something that you talk a lot about with players. What you have to understand with your dash is that it is your bread and butter. We talked about that in point 1. It is your kill potential. You close gap with it and you burst 80 damage, or 108 if you hit a shuriken. Wasting that, every time you use dash, there's 8 seconds until you can get another kill, right? Because you need it to get stuff. So you will have 8 seconds where you just have really shitty Hanzo, right? So if you're constantly wasting your dash and you're constantly wasting it and not getting anything out of it, then you should just be playing Hanzo, because at least when you're then spamming a shield, you're just doing something with it, right? So what we need to, there's 2 really simple rules, and there's far more advanced stuff to go into here, but dashing for pressure and that kind of stuff. But 2 really simple rules to kind of make sure that you don't waste your Swift Strike is rule number 1. You dash a target if you're 90% sure you can kill him, right? Now you might miscalculate that, and that's fine. As long as you dashed him because you had the idea that I'm gonna dash this guy because I think I can kill him. That can be because your team is damaging him. A lot of people is focus firing on some. For example, if the enemy Ryan is getting like ganged up by your team, like there's he's getting surrounded, there's a lot of damage on him, and it looks like he's like shielding and low, so he's just keeping his shield up because he's low. You dashing him can just help assassinate and like finish that kill off. Or if a Senjata is out of position, as long as you think I'm 90% sure I can get that kill, then it's fine, because you will dash in, get the kill, dash back out again, or chain it onto more kills. Completely fine. That's the first rule. The second rule, you're allowed to dash to escape, which is one of the cool things with Genji, because you can off angle and play these really like up close 50 meters positions as we talked about. And even if you get pressured, for example, you take a high ground, so you're within 50 meters of the entire enemy team, right? And you're also playing close to your team so you can help them in the team fight. If a monkey dives you with the D.Va, for example, right, then you can dash out to escape. You're allowed to use your dash defensively in that manner. But you're not allowed to dash up to the high ground for no reason, unless you're going to get a kill, right? So you're allowed to use it if you're 9% you can get a kill, or to escape. And that's incredibly important, those 2. Just remember, every time you use your dash to escape, you're not using it to get a kill, and there's 8 more seconds until you can get another kill. And if you do that in a team fight, right, that's 8 seconds of you being very inefficient, which can lose you the team fight, because 8 seconds in a team fight is an eternity. And in low elos, sometimes you see them use this in a very long stretch of team fight, they will use it wrong 2 or 3 times, essentially just dashing around doing nothing with it, essentially costing them the time for team fight, because there's like 16 seconds plus that they're not using their dash correctly, meaning they have no kill potential whatsoever on the map. Doesn't matter how good you are. At that point, like, you're playing really hard as you're playing Shuriken Sniper Simulator with 28 damaging shurikens with fucking slow-ass projectile speed, right? Now, the last one is we love walls. As a Genji player, right, rule number 5, we love walls. straight up, right? Trump supporters, all of us, joking, right? But seriously, playing close to a wall, like, you should always try to use your cover. There's this a common positioning or standard positioning that we try to use in Overwatch, to constantly push and play around cover and use that. And Genji can use that so much more efficiently because of his wall climb ability. Playing close to any structure is you can climb straight up to get out of range of Winston's or Ryan's or whatever to make yourself difficult to hit. Even if, for example, you're reloading, you can, if you're reloading and you're stuck out in the open against somebody, and you need to reload to finish them off, instead of just standing there and like trying to AD strafe and probably die, you can do a wall climb just to get some altitude above them and then push in on them, so they have to like aim upwards in this really tight angle to make it super difficult to hit while you're reloading in the air instead of just reloading normally. And you can play so many good positionings, which probably is going on the map right now, where you can play around the wall. You can play close to cover and climb up and down and up and down and up and down and keep pressuring them. And this works so well with the high ground usage that we have talked about, right? And hopefully with this video, which I have worked pretty hard on trying to make sure that I tie everything together. And hopefully you can kind of see how these 5 rules are individual rules, but they tie together. You need to be in a position where you can dash every single target, so you can off-angle play high grounds to get into those positions. You need good dash usage because you need that to get those kills. So point 1, point 2, and point 4, right? Carrying position, play within 50 meters, use off-angles and high ground, and have good dash management, right? So use it to get those 90% sure kills is 3 really, really important ways for you to have impact on the map, stay safe while still being aggressive, while still having a presence and having impact and keeping pressure on the enemy team and capitalizing on mistakes, capitalizing on plays from your team, capitalizing on anything that happens on the map. You're there to snatch up immediately with your resources because you have them available. Using walls and constantly climbing up and down on walls and using that kind of stuff ties into high ground control, ties into constantly using your cover, and also allows you incredibly nice off angles where 2 tanks can be meeting in the front, and where there's a wall to the right side of the tank, a short little wall like the one on Eichenwald in the doorway, and you can climb up and down, up and down, up and down, constantly pressuring over that without risking and exposing yourself too much. That usage comes into playing around with the team. A little bit of a different thing, but because Swift Strike is such an important ability to Genji, so I snuck that in there. It doesn't tie as well into stuff, but it has something to do with your positioning and the fact you need to play around with your team to get the most use out of that, as we don't want to always go for solo kills as they take a long time that we rather could have killed 2 individuals or killed 1 individual and kept pressuring the enemy team instead of having a 1v1 against somebody, 8 miles in the back line. So I hope this video helps. I hope that you guys like this. If so, liking really helps out. For some reason, every single YouTube video as of late has tanked ridiculously. I'm not sure why. All I know is that I had, because of work and illness, I had some breaks in between video uploads with like weeks in between, and it started to really fall off after that. So liking and sharing this stuff around and commenting on the video, interacting with it, it's greatly appreciated. Hopefully this video is gonna be popular enough that YouTube will start promoting my other stuff as well. It's tough out there. Of course, again, subscribing to the channel, I would love to hit 20,000 by the end of the year. It would be a dream for me. So thank you guys if you guys do that. And of course, as I said, if you want to rank up, improve, and get better at the game, you can hire me as your private coach to rank up a little bit faster. It's 50 euros for a 2-hour session, also helps support me financially. So, link down in the description to a Discord server, hit me up there, and I hope I'll talk to you guys later. Please take care of yourself, stay positive, I love you guys very, very much. Wear a mask, tell somebody that you love them. As always, my name is Jonal, and you guys keep the enemy in your crosshair.